Not a good morning, but a good afternoon to everyone listening here via the magic of the World Wide Web. I am Robert Phoenix, and you're listening to 15 Minutes of Flame. It's an afternoon edition since I was stacked like the airport today with readings, one right after the other, doing my best to serve the needs of my fellow brothers and sisters at this time of year or any. By the way, that is my other occupation. I am an astrologer who breaks down things at a collective and social level, and I also work with people one-on-one. And you can also learn astrology through me in my website. I've got a 16-hour course, the 11th House Academy. You can go to my website and check it out. It makes a great Christmas gift if you know people that are into astrology and want to study it. And I have it on sale at my website right now. You can go there and check it out. We'll be on sale until the, let's call it the 2nd of January. So here we are today, and we're going to be getting into things somewhat astrological, but mostly social, metasocial. There's a lot happening. Let's go with the big headline right now. The rebels, the Syrian rebels, the Liberation Army of Syria, the hired dogs of Turkey, Saudi Arabia, the United States. They're going, they're leaving, they're out of Aleppo. 15,000 of them. They're moving 15,000 people out of Aleppo. That is a major development. Number one, the conflict, the tragedy that is Aleppo now begins to experience the healing process. Number two, guess what? A surrender and a retreat was negotiated. Guess who did the negotiating? It wasn't the United States. It was Russia and Bashar al-Assad. And now these people can return to the semblance of their lives before the Syrian rebels were aided and abetted by ISIS and the axis of evil. Now, what they do with them and where they go, I don't know. Did they just take them out to Damascus? Where do they take them? And what happens to them? Are they rehabilitated? Are they given food and shelter and housing? Or do they experience some kind of moral and social pivot so that they'll now re-enter into Syrian society once again as dependable and responsible citizens, Muslim, Christian, or otherwise? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that, but I do know that something remarkable has happened today. Something has changed today. Some major moment in a war that's been going on for 5 years has changed. And I don't think that there's any coincidence that Donald J. Trump, being president of the United States, has something to do with that. And the reason why is because Trump, through his generals, even though they're not official, they're working back channels, has said that they are not going to share any more intel with the Syrian rebels. And that happened 3 weeks ago. So they started to get shut down. All the satellite feeds, all of the geocentric positioning, that all went away. And that's like, it's like flying blind. If you don't have that kind of intel, you can't, you're fighting an unwinnable war, because guess what? Your enemy has that intel on you. And so you're done. And they realize it, and it's over. And what are we hearing about instead? Instead of a major conflict. Now, I'm not saying that the war itself is over, but Aleppo is over, and that's a major piece. That's a major piece. If they've taken Aleppo, then they're headed south. They're going towards Damascus, and the route is on. They pushed them back, and they pushed them out. And watching these buses leave Aleppo, one after another, after another, after another, after another, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal how they're organizing and managing this convoy of humanity out of there. And yet we're talking about Russia, and we're talking about the hacks, and we're talking about how this is going to have to lead to another election. And we're talking about how electors are now turning potentially on Trump. And we're having to watch these bullshit videos of C-list actors and actresses led by Martin Sheen preening to the electors, pandering to the electors, begging the electors to vote their conscience because it's a patriotic thing to do. You know, what these people don't understand and what they don't understand is that if you look at the map of America, and again, I don't care if you're into Trump or not into Trump, if you look at the map of America, it bled red. It bled red. The people have spoken. I'm sorry. You are not the people. You may think that because you have some kind of cushy gig that allows you time to contemplate and gaze into your navel and devote your money to social causes, that you are more enlightened than the rest of us, and that your perspective, you know, resonates at a loftier, higher atmospheric, vibration. No, it doesn't. Sorry. Get over it. Done. Let's talk about Aleppo. Let's talk about something significant happening. A major turn of events over in Syria. And we got to like that. I've been watching a lot of RT today because, of course, I want to stay up on my fake news and my conditioning around all this programming that the Russians are doling out to us and turning us into alt-right Nazis. I was watching a show today called Watching the Hawks. I think it's called Watching the Hawks. And one of the hosts on the show is Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's son. And he was interviewing this director who's directed this movie called Equal to Equal. And she is a full-on adrenalized feminist who is demanding that the Constitution be redone to include women. And she had her Gatling gun of facts and was just spraying them all over the RT studio, with Sean Stone being the host. And Sean Stone might be the worst interviewer I've ever seen. And, you know, look, he works for Gaia now. I don't really want to badmouth him. It was one of the worst interviews I've ever seen. It was terrible. Maybe he's inherited the directorial gene from his father. He clearly has no interviewing gene. What it was an infomercial for info to info. Now, if you look at that interview, and just look at that interview on its face value alone, and even the show Watching the Hawks, it tends to be liberal. It tends to be progressive. It tends to be left-leaning. If you watch RT, which I spend a fair amount of time doing because I can get it on my TV at home through my Roku, it tends to be kind of at times leftist. So this witch hunt that's taking place to demonize RT, to think that RT is putting the screws to the democratic process by turning Americans into Nazis by watching it couldn't be further from the truth. Spend some time and watch it. Go watch that interview that Sean Stone did with the director from Equal to Equal. It's anything but alt-right. It's anything but conservative. I mean, that would make the left and the progressive side of the ledger sheet stand up and shout for joy. But we're having to deal now with this narrative, and we have to fight back on this narrative tooth and nail. It's so vitally important, and I'm going to give you context. A lot of times we can see things that are revealed to us through the world of sports. I talked about a 30 for 30 show that ESPN did about the USFL and Donald Trump And the show, it was titled Small Potatoes, and Trump plays a central role. And you don't really know where he's going. I talked about it on my website. You don't know where he's going with the league, but I talked about it on my website and how he winds up navigating towards his south node astrologically, and everything becomes unraveled for the league through litigation and all that Sagittarian stuff that he has to go through. Well, there's another ESPN 30 for 30 called Fantastic Lies, and I highly, highly, highly recommend this video. Fantastic Lies is about the case that was made against 3 lacrosse players from Duke University who had a party and hired a couple of quote-unquote escorts and strippers. Now, to contextualize this, you have to understand that Duke is in Durham, North Carolina. And Durham, North Carolina is probably about 40% black / African American. It's fairly disproportionate in terms of the Duke community. And even the non-black or non-African American community tends to be kind of outside of sort of the Dukeosphere, working class, middle to lower middle class. And Duke, of course, is upper middle class and even upper class in terms of its demographics. So you have a lacrosse team, and they're rowdy, they're young, they're full of testosterone. They go to parties, they get drunk. Hello, welcome to college America. This has been going on for a long time. They hire 2 escorts, 2 strippers, and one of the strippers winds up on a walkway outside of the house that a couple of the lacrosse players lived in, passed out. She goes to the police and tells the police she's been assaulted and sexually abused by the Duke players. And the guy who is the standing district attorney, because they didn't have one at the time, he was appointed. The standing district attorney came in and basically used that case to propagate his run towards being a district attorney of Durham, North Carolina. He used it as a platform. And so when you look at what happened with the 3 lacrosse players from Duke, you can see that, number one, it was racially charged. We have a divide and conquer scenario. Number 2, it takes place on a campus that is decidedly progressive and liberal. So they're immediately taking the side of a progressive liberal agenda that is deeply woven into the university structure in and of itself. But then number 3, you have the political motivation of somebody that wants to get ahead, the district attorney. And now we have a false narrative, and guess what we have? We have fake news. Fake news propagating an agenda, propagating a personal narrative, a point of view, all supporting these various factions and camps. And if you know about the Duke lacrosse case, all 3 of the young men were found innocent. Absolutely. I highly recommend watching this video because it is an encapsulation of where we are today. Russia, the CIA and the mainstream media, or portion of the CIA, the mainstream media, and the White House are the district attorney and the press that surrounded what happened and what didn't happen in Durham. The press was ready to lynch those 3 boys. They supported the absolutely shoddy case that was being prepared by Mike Nifong, the district attorney. So where we are right now with this Russian narrative, it's those people. Those people. It is not the same people, but it is the same connection. It is the same model. And then you have this kind of liberal, progressive intelligentsia who are angry and pissed off And who knows where their anger is coming from? If they were violated sexually or their anger is institutional, I don't know. But it's an incredibly short fuse. They're running around with signs wanting to castrate these kids. Rush to judgment. This is the wing of the left that is being manipulated by the press and the representation of the local government or the government in general as it relates to Mike Nifong, the DA, and what's happening currently inside the White House at a federal level. You can parse it out and bring it up to the next level. You can see the same thing happening. And who are the three guys? Who are the three young men at Duke? It's Donald Trump and his administration being castigated. This is exactly what's happening. Now, the White House has said that they're not going to brief the electors on Russia. Of course not. It's because Russia didn't do it. Russia did not do it. Russia did not hack the election. I talked about this on Monday's show. You know, Alex Jones has always given himself props. He's always giving himself props. You know, we broke this news 4 years ago. I've got videos. I've been doing movies like Terror Storm. And look, other guys are out there like Breitbart, Drudge, WND. I mean, we're all part of the same team, right? But I have to say that I was out there with InfoWars, and look, I don't want to take the credit. I'm not here to take the credit. I'm just a patriot. Okay, I'm just a patriot. How many times does he say that? He says a lot. But no, he's always bringing in Breitbart and Drudge. Just because he wants to, be a part of what they're doing. Those guys are in the crosshairs because they're talking about now taking ad stream revenue away from them because of their fake news. They're trying to control the alternative version of reality. Look, I'm not a big fish. I don't have ads on my website. The only ad you hear on this is coming from Blog Talk Radio, and when I transfer to YouTube, 8 times out of 10, I'll take it out and I'll have just the raw, this. And when there won't be an ad. If there's an ad, it's for me, my work. I'm not beholden to anybody. No sponsor is going to go leave me. They can't shut down my ad network. I'm like David. I'm like David in that slingshot. But on Monday, I talked about Robert Brennan, or what's his name, Brennan, from the director of the CIA. I don't think it's Robert. Brennan, the CIA, the director, and he's not coming out and saying it, but everybody knows he became a convert to Islam, Wahhabist Islam. And the Wahhabist version of Islam is the most radical version. The Wahhabist Salafist sect of Islam is the most radical version of Islam. They are the enforcers of Sharia law. So I talked about this on Monday. It's like, no wonder this is coming out of the CIA. Brennan is dredging it up. Because look at what's happening. Our government has essentially been infiltrated by the Muslim Brotherhood. If you don't understand that, you're not paying attention. And I'm not an Islamophobe. I just look around. I just see who's on the team. I'm just looking at the roster. Just like when the neocons were in office, who was on the team? I mean, they're all dual citizens with Israel. Now we got guys that are connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. Valerie Jarrett, born in Iran. Barack Obama, he's a Muslim. John Brennan, Muslim. Do you think they want Donald Trump in office? They don't. Because they know that party is coming to an end. And I didn't have to have any secret sources. I didn't have to have any insiders. I just put one and one together, and I got two, and there you go. And then what happens is that then you see, oh yeah, there's Wayne Madsen, and all these people are talking about Brennan. I was there on Monday. I don't have any secret powers. I just put the dots together. It's not that hard. And it's not that hard if you're awake. Then the awakening process is really intense. I'm telling you, it is intense. Then you get into the global level. I was watching ENRT today, and they're talking about selling arms to Saudi Arabia. This is a big deal, right? England is talking about selling arms. It's a big debate now in Parliament. Should they be selling as much arms to Saudi Arabia as they are? Those arms winding up in Yemen and causing huge amounts of destruction and death. The arms merchants are death merchants. And the arms have not, if everybody had, see, one of the reasons why they haven't had just a major full-on coup, which they may try on the 20th, is because Americans are armed to the teeth. And they have tried. Lord, how they've tried to take the guns away. I will not miss the Barack Obama gun control false flags. I will not miss them. We may have Islamic false flags now that Trump is in office to underscore and uphold that narrative. That might happen. We've already seen it. But I won't miss the gun control false flags. Dylan Roof confessed to everything. How many people did I kill? How many people did I kill? You didn't kill any, Dylan Roof. Nobody died. Nobody died in South Carolina. I did the math. Go to my website. I did the math on everything, from the amount of time that he was supposed to be there to where the nearest police station was. I mean, come on. I did the math. I did the math about the cleanup. I did the math about how he would have to be an exact shooter. So he didn't kill anybody. They took the kid out for lunch once he turned himself in. They took him out to lunch. Hey, Dale. Come on, boy. Let's go on over to Quiznos. Let's have us a little lunch. We can talk about this. Nobody died. Anyway, today, unanimous jury. Throw away the key. By the way, have you noticed that Dylan Roof looks a lot like Adam Lanza? He's got the Adam Lanza bull haircut. Is that the haircut that is sort of designated? They all look like Moe from the Three Stooges. Is that the sociopathic haircut du jour? If you see somebody with a haircut like Dylan Roof or Adam Lanza, who's really his brother, make sure you call somebody. See something, say something. The bull haircut, the Dennis the Menace cut, is a clear indication that that guy's going to go off. Get him off the streets before it happens. We live in a funny time. It's like if you speak loud enough with enough authority, people will listen. I've noticed that. If you speak loud enough, and everybody's trying to get up above everybody else. Everybody's got their own little YouTube show, doing this, doing that, mostly regurgitating everything else everybody else is saying. Everybody else is trying to find the thing that connects the thing to the thing that links us to the story underneath the story, behind the story. And most of us are pretty far removed from most of it. I mean, let's be honest. So a lot of this is just speculation. Most of it is opinion. It's a court of public opinion. Mine is just one of them. But I've noticed if you speak loud enough and you speak authoritatively enough, people will listen. That's truth. That's truth. Preach. Preach, brother. But I guess the other version is the Edward Snowden version. I really believe that if the United States government truly wanted to be transparent, then they would engage in a process of that transparency at every fundamental level, from encryption all the way through legislation. I guess you could get attention that way. You sort of dial it down a bit. It's so funny the time we're living in. And this is a really, kind of amazing and volatile time. How about Trump meeting with Kanye West? Poor Kanye. Trump says he's going to stand by Kanye West. Kanye West, fighting a chemical lobotomy, on some kind of weird mission to talk about diversity with Trump. And Trump's sitting here, oh my God, what am I going to do? And Trump meeting with Jim Brown. Jim Brown, one of the great athletes, one of the great social activists, African American origin. I love Jim Brown. I love the fact that Jim Brown walked away from pro football at a point in time when he could still use his body. I like the fact that Jim Brown has reached out to communities across America, with his soldiers and dealing with young black men who could really use some leadership, mentorship, and guidance. Jim Brown has dedicated the majority of his adult life to that. Yeah, he had a weird time. We all have weird times. If you haven't had a weird time, you're not living. You got to sort that stuff out. And so did Jim Brown did. Jim Brown became a real Christian. And there he is meeting with Trump. This is amazing. Now, he's got a real issue with the Fed. Janet Yellen, remember Janet Yellen's speech? With the first quarter, we'll be raising the ratio of the. You remember that speech? You're like thinking, what the hell? And everybody's like clapping her. Yes, yes. I love that. When somebody is like faltering, they give them all these applause. Like, yeah. The real response should be an open mouth and going, oh, what the hell is going on here? But we're a good society. We want to see people get through. We want to support people. Come on, Jan. You can do it. Spit it out. Tell us how screwed we are. Oh, that's it, Jan. Good job. He's got a problem. The Fed is going to raise rates 3 times in 2017. They have Donald Trump in their crosshairs. Story over in Henry Macow is that there was a Rothschild, a rogue Rothschild, who is going crazy on Twitter going after Trump. And Macow thinks that it's real, that this is a real Rothschild by the tenor and the tone and the rhythm and the kind of witch huntery baiting that is going on inside the tweets. And if that's the case, and the Rothschilds have Trump in their crosshairs, then we are on like Donkey Kong, and I say bring it on. Let's see what happens. Let's see what Trump does with the Fed. Because if the Fed gets in the way and wants to torpedo the economic recovery that Trump is working hard towards, even with all the screwed up kinds of elements involved that would be connected to things like fracking and bad water and Corpus Christi, it's got to be addressed. But this is a guy that wants to get things rolling, and the Fed and the Rothschilds looks like they want to take him down. What's going to happen to the Fed? These are amazing times. Amazing times. A time where we are arm wrestling for truth and we're sumo wrestling for reality. Don't be shy. Get in the ring. This is Robert Phoenix. It's been your 15 minutes of flame.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can seem intense. Like breakup R&B intense.
I thought you said you loved the sweater that I got you. If you didn't, you could have told me.
Geico makes it easy. Just go to Geico.com anytime to update or check your policy without all the extra drama.
I even had a gift receipt.